Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Canine Revolution Radio, episode 53. We've got the panel. We've got the team here today. We got Lexi, Chris, Kevin, and Megan from Au Pair for Paws Dog Training. You've heard all their stories if you listen to all the other episodes. If you haven't listened to their stories, go back, listen to their stories. Right, we've got a lot of good feedback, and I think Kevin holds the record right now, longest episode. Just under 3 hours or just over 3 hours. So, and Kevin also says we could have kept going if me and him didn't have appointments we had to go to later that day.
I think you were late to one.
I was late. The only time I've ever been late. All right. So today we're talking about some stuff. So how's everybody doing?
Good.
Megan,
Good.
what's new in your world?
Just bought a house.
Nice.
Oh, congratulations.
Nice.
Yep,
Where
prepping
at?
for that, stressing, moving.
Where'd you buy the house at?
James Island.
James Island. How much? How big is it? What's all the details?
It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, almost a half acre. It's
Nice.
fenced in. So
Fenced in
super
already? Oh,
excited.
nice.
Finally get my dogs their own yard.
Nice.
Which is
Heck yeah.
great. So I'm excited
Soon
about that.
you're gonna add a pool to it.
Yeah, the boyfriend wants a pool. Chip wants a pool. I'm like, all right, we need to slow down.
At least start with a hot tub. There you
Oh
go.
gosh, I don't know. We'll see.
I just get the inflatables. Good to go.
I mean,
Yeah, we could
you're
do
right.
an inflatable.
I just have the kiddie pools.
You're right
The
near the
Walmart
beach at that point.
$5.
We are 5 minutes from Folly Beach, so that does help.
They don't need a
really?
pool, then.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Dang.
The world is
Super
your
close.
Nice.
Yeah, that is nice. All right, good to go. All right, so today we're talking about some controversial hot topics. So first of all, let's get you guys' thoughts on remote collars. What do you guys think? Megan, what do you think about remote collars? What have you heard out there in the James Island territories?
So, some people will call me and be like, hey, I want to avoid this at all costs, and we'll just go through a natural progression. And then as we go through that, sometimes they'll be like, hey, like the clients will be like, hey, I actually think I want to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you show me it? Usually I'll have them feel it. It's a great training tool. It's, I have a lot of people that actually have come to me from other trainers that used it in a bad way. And you can see it in the dog's face. You can see that the dog is super stressed out. And then I'll be like, all right, we're going to take this away for a while. And then we're going to kind of reprogram them into the e-collar. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, I never thought it'd be used this way, because they were taught like, oh, you got to teach the dog with the remote, no food, stuff like that. So I see why people have like that negative stigma on the e-collar, or they'll just be seeing people on the street like, stimming their dog and not knowing what they're doing. And the dog's like freaking out and screeching. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to put something like that on my dog.
Right.
So, I think the misuse of the e-collar really added to that stigma. And also like the propaganda around like calling them shock collars and stuff like that really adds to that stigma as well.
Yeah. While you're talking about other trainers messing up dogs by training improperly, let me tell you a story. It happened over the weekend. So I go to a consultation, got these two ladies. They've got this property. They've got 2 dogs. They got a couple horses, a couple cows, actually. I talked to them about their cows. Lexi's on the beef train these days, by the way. She just got some beef she's eating.
Oh, I
so
think
anyway,
they're cows.
No,
yeah,
no,
cow
no.
beef.
In my apartment, I have a cow.
So anyway, they got all these animals out there. They got like 30 acres. It's a nice setup. But anyway, they got 2 dogs. I walk into the house. I'm there to see one of the dogs, who's their male. It's super social, just needs some self-control work. But then they have a female who's on a pet cot with a muzzle on, ears back. You can just tell she's, not comfortable. So I start asking questions about that dog, like what's going on with her, blah, blah, blah. They sent her to another trainer for 6 weeks down in your area. And basically they sent the dog at like 1 year old. The dog was a little bit nervous, insecure, but nothing crazy. They go down there to pick up the dog. And when they go do the pickup session, the dog's like doing the obedience. It'll lay in a pet cot. It'll do a downstay, but it's growling. It's uncomfortable. It's got the ears pinned back, tail tucked the whole time it's doing all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then anytime that these supposed trainers are trying to interact with the dog or pet it, this dog's like trying to get away from the people. You know what I'm saying? And so obviously it was a very upsetting situation for the ladies. And we're talking to them about retraining the dog because, and we did establish that, hey, this dog does know obedience. But the dog's super uncomfortable. The dog's super insecure while it's doing all this. Now it has started biting people since it went through that training program. Probably because of the methods of that training program, using a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, that kind of thing. So we talked about, what should you be doing training-wise? Rehabilitating the mindset, building up relationship and engagement. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's just one example of a trainer using tools improperly, using bad training methods. That's actually making the dog worse. Sure, the obedience might be there, maybe, but is it even really there? Because the dog doesn't like it. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think about that? Well, down in your area.
Yeah,
I
have an idea. So I have three dogs right now from a particular training program. And those dogs, if I tell the dog to down, it will not down. I have to actually press the collar for it to down. So basically the dog, they said they like step on their leash, they stim them until the dog like lays down. And they don't teach them anything with food. They don't teach them through luring. I was like, do they use food at all? No food. And all these dogs were insecure prior to training. And one of the dogs actually like attacked the owner like a week after it came back from training.
Holy cow.
So I think that like when you put so much pressure on a stressed out dog, it's going to have a reaction eventually. It's going to like explode. So it just, my thoughts on that is it stinks. And, sometimes people are so jammed up and they want to get a dog in so quick to a training program and they're like, okay, these people could take me this week, but there's like a 3-month waiting list. There's a reason that there's a waiting list for, trainers and stuff like that.
Always tell them, think about that for just a second.
Why do they
this one could take me in today.
Why do they have availability?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
It all comes down to education. So like there is a stigma with remote collars, and the stigma is justified based on what you guys are saying, right? The experiences you guys are talking about. I unfortunately, it feels like a lot of the trainers, like that's the majority, right? That it's not, that a lot of them are putting these remote collars on way too soon, right? And misusing the tool. If you use any tool wrong, you're going to have consequences for that. You know what I'm saying? So I think it comes down to education. I can speak from the perspective of both sides. When I first started, I was not really a fan of the remote collar. I was like, I don't know, but I didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? I was uneducated on it, and so like I remember asking you, like, is this going to hurt my dog? You know what I'm saying? Now I trusted you. We go back. So like when you tell me, hey, it's good to go, I'm like, rock and roll, let's go. So like think about it from the perspective where you're just dealing with a random trainer. You don't have that level of trust. You don't know the person. You're going to ask those questions. Is this hurting my dog? You think, like you mentioned, Megan, people call them shock collars, right? What is that already going in your head? I'm shocking my dog, right? When that's not at all what's going on. So we have to educate people as far as what this tool actually does and how to use it and teach them the progression. And I feel like when we do that, most people are at ease with it. So I think that's where it starts. But you also have I think like the UK is still bans them as a tool. Like I don't think they allow the use of it at all. So like again, like now people are thinking, well, if countries are saying, hey, this is an illegal thing to use, why should we use it here? You know what I'm saying? So like that's just kind of feeding the stigma. But I feel like the stigma is justified because of the misuse of it. But that's where our job is to educate on how to properly use it, right? And just educate what it actually does. You know what I'm saying?
Just the way technology has advanced alone, because back in the days, they were, pretty rough.
Sure.
You're talking about like 60s, 70s, and 80s, the technology that we use today didn't exist. So they were just going with what they know. And now we have something that's like, can be easily fine-tuned. It's
if you get the right one.
If you get the right one. Yeah. So the ones that we use, obviously, can be easily fine-tuned, so everything is completely fair, the way that we condition it. But like you said, any tool in any profession that you misuse, you're going to have some side effects to it. And with these particular trainers who are just no food, no motivation, well, the dog's not going to want to perform for you. And if they do perform for you, it's more out of like fear of what could happen to them instead of like being motivated to. Yeah. So there is a line in the sand there.
Yeah. Well, I will say too, I know exactly what these people are doing, these types of trainers, because when I started dog training, that's what I was doing. Unfortunately, I didn't know any better. and my own dog, I started becoming a dog trainer because my own dog, Bane, was attacking me, attacking my wife, attacking my family, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, I want to learn how to change this. And guess what? I was using those methods, and basically you're just forcing the dog to do everything. There's no rewards. It was like one of the things that was said at the first place I ever trained at and worked at was, rewards. If you use rewards, you're weak. If you use rewards, the dog doesn't respect you. You know what I'm saying? But, Bane would do it down, but he'd be growling the whole time, be growling at me. I would be on my toes around him because I didn't know if he was going to lash out at me. I could, if I went to a restaurant with him, sure, he would down, but he'd be growling, all of a sudden barking, lunging at everybody in the area, Then basically at that point, we taught him to hold things in his mouth again through force, because it was like, okay, if he's holding something in his mouth, then he's not able to lash out at somebody. And so he'd be holding something in his mouth. He hated it the entire time, still be growling at people with things in his mouth. So like, I know those methods of training. Unfortunately, that's why I, left that type of training, learned from Michael Ellis, and then do what we do now, because doing that style of training takes a toll on you as a human. I'm not going to lie. It takes a huge toll on you as a human. Stressful. Right? It's stressful for you. It's super stressful for the dog. And I just can't believe that there's still people out there doing that. And it's got to be taking a toll on them. But at least if it's not taking a toll on them, then there's like some kind of psychological issue with the people. But so anyway, whenever I started dog training too, there was no discussion about classical conditioning. There's no discussion about operant conditioning. It's just, you do this. If the dog doesn't do this, then you do that. You know what I'm saying? So no rhyme or reason to anything, just a lot of force, a lot of pressure, a lot of discomfort, dogs aren't liking it. You're not necessarily liking it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's dogs that take to it very easily and rapidly with no factor, but the serious insecurity, anxiety, aggression stuff doesn't help it. You know what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff. So not good to go, obviously. But if you learn how to train properly, then you can use the tools and things appropriately to benefit the dog. You know what I'm saying? When you first learn about, when I was in that world, then I got out of that world and I learned about operant conditioning, I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like everything makes sense. Yeah. Classical conditioning, holy shit, this is crazy. Everything makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in that world and you're listening, you need to get out of that world. We can help you do that. You need to reach out. We can help you do that. But let's say you're like, I want to be a dog trainer, and you're talking to like a company that says, yeah, you got a 2-week training program to learn how to train dogs. Red flag. You got a 3-week training program to learn how to train dogs. Red flag. You know what I'm saying? So, you can go back, listen to a couple of our podcasts, one that Chris did about selecting a dog trainer if you're someone looking for a dog trainer, also one that we did on like our apprenticeship program, because it's like, it takes 8 to 12 months for us to certify a dog trainer. You know what I'm saying? Not 2 weeks. If you're going through a 2-week program, you don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? So
that's like, there's so many learning curves to it too. You're always going to run into something that's like a challenge, or, you're going to run into a client that's a challenge. So, I mean, 2 weeks of experience is like really nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly. Not even experience.
That's
it's
like
just
saying, I've had dogs my whole life. I know how to train dogs. I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, the remote collar, again, can be misused, can be used properly and beneficial to the dog. The places that are banning them, that's unfortunate, because let's say you didn't have a remote collar, Let's say you didn't have a remote collar and you have a dog that doesn't care about a leash correction, Or if you have a dog off leash that has issues chasing cars, how are you gonna finagle that? You got to have your dog on a leash all the time, because there is a possibility you could build up enough repetitions of relationship style behavior, but still,
I would say most people don't have the time to do that, or the dedication to do that, because there's no like, oh, you'll do this in 4 weeks, get them to that point,
right?
Like, you can
it ain't gonna be 4
months,
weeks. It ain't gonna be 4 weeks,
if not years.
It's gonna be a long ass time, and still, even then, there'll be that one situation where your dog chases whatever, a deer, a car, a squirrel, that could end its life. You know what I'm saying? Or you can have your safety tools in place that are properly trained, you know, and that benefits you and the dog, gives you the freedom to be off leash, enjoy life, but still have the ability to communicate very clearly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When I got Chase, he was chasing deer for like hours every day, and we lived in like a beach community that like fed the deer, so everyone was basically baiting the deer for Chase, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, we are really going to be in trouble here. So everyone's like, you need a shock collar. So them saying it like that to me really turned me off from like the e-collar or the remote collar, right? So but then once I went to Jen, she like let me feel it, and his whole life changed. Like we actually developed a better relationship through training. It was amazing. I'm glad I chose her because the other lady actually told me to euthanize him, and she was like a positive reinforcement trainer and the one who told me to adopt him.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the contract said don't use like e-collars and stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, but I didn't really care because I'm keeping my dog.
Yeah. Well, talking about that, going off on that tangent, talking about, you know, the positive reinforcement side of the house. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of trainers out there that say positive reinforcement only. Or there's rescues out there that say we will only let you use, like you can have one of our dogs only if you use a positive reinforcement trainer. You know, what are the downsides of that?
You're very limited. If you have a very aggressive dog that, you know, you need to manage, he'll be living like a life of, or she will be living like a life of confinement possibly if you don't find the right trainer. So
let's say, you know, going off of what you just said, if you have a highly aggressive dog, you're using positive reinforcement only, it's living a life of confinement. Is that really positive reinforcement only?
nope.
No. You're not even only using positive. What are you using? You're using negative punishment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're already outside of the realm of positive reinforcement. So the positive reinforcement trainer says, hey, you do this, this, and this is positive reinforcement only. They don't even know that they're not only positive reinforcement, you know what I'm saying?
So again, this comes down to an issue of education. So like people that are saying, which I've like when I adopted Vader from the shelter, that was one of the things. Like if you get training, you have to use positive
That's what
reinforcement.
they told you?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
They're like you cannot correct the dog.
Where'd you get him
from? From local shelter.
Not going to call them
shelter. No, I'm not going to call them out.
All right.
But this is what they told me. But like, so when you hear positive reinforcement, it has certain emotional attachments that people put on it. So that means positive means we're using good methods. It's happy. It's all friendly, and it's all about treats. When you don't really understand what you're talking about, you don't understand the other quadrants of operant conditioning, which we've done countless episodes on. So you guys check those out. But when you take away those other three quadrants, you're limiting yourself to what you can do. You know what I'm saying? And like, this is where, again, education comes in. We have to teach people like positive reinforcement is a very good quadrant to use in operant conditioning, but there's also other things. And these trainers that are claiming we only use positive reinforcement methods, right? To be able to get programs, get people to sign up, that kind of stuff. They're not just using that. They're using other methods as well, right? So again, it's an education issue, I think.
Well, we use a lot of positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Be straight up. We use it
100%.
every day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
But we also use the other three quadrants
Exactly.
too. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? We use all four. That's why I love when people call. I don't think they do it much anymore, but they used to call and be like, do you use positive reinforcement? We're like, yep. And all the other four quadrants, you know? But like, let's say you're training with a positive reinforcement trainer, you got a leash on the dog. If the dog puts tension on that leash, you're already outside of positive reinforcement.
Bingo.
You know, if you're using a kennel, you're already outside of positive reinforcement. If you're having your dog go on a pet cot, you're already outside of positive reinforcement.
I don't think you can move. You can't do anything.
Basically, you're
It's
just
marketing.
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
you're
It's a
letting the dog
marketing
do whatever it
tactic.
wants to do 100% of the time. If you're true, positive. But let's say your dog steps on a nail outside. Oops. You just went to positive punishment. Oops.
Yeah.
You know, you can't ever tell your dog no.
Right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
the point. You can't live life in positive reinforcement quadrant. Even us as
None of
humans.
us.
Like, it's just not, it literally is just not how the world works.
Definitely not humans. You got to get your speeding tickets.
I've never gotten one, so I don't know. I'm positively reinforcing myself when I speed, I guess. I don't know.
What about your taxes?
I do pay my taxes, unfortunately.
Well,
Unfortunately.
what quadrant is taxes?
Ooh.
Positive punishment?
I mean,
or withholding what you want. You want your money. The government's taking it from you. Negative punishment.
but they give it back. So
Nah, negative.
Like 7% of it.
Yeah, no.
This year they told me I got to pay more. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that's the positive reinforcement train. Anybody got any other thoughts on that?
I mean, you're just never going to achieve like a very high level of training with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
You ain't gonna meet your goals.
No. At that point, the dog's just going to view you as a resource anyway.
Yeah.
You try to ask him to do something, you don't have something to reward him. He's just going to blow you off.
Yeah. What about the people that say if you use treats, your dog doesn't respect you? If you what your dog is only doing that because you're using treats. What do you say to that person?
I call them bullies. I think I would call them bullies. I'm like, well, do you work for a paycheck? Oh, well, you're weak because you take your paycheck, which is your reward, which is your positive reinforcement. You take your paycheck, then you're weak. You know what I'm saying? You should just work for free. You know, with and you know you whatever your boss tells you to do, you do it, and you don't get nothing for it. You know what I'm saying? That's not the world we live in. Again, this is like we have to think about it from the way the world works for all mammals. You know what I'm saying? Dogs need paychecks too. They need reasons to do things. We're giving them those reasons, right? And it's not about the food. It's about developing the relationship. It's not about, hey, I want the food. It's like I want the interaction with this guy that's got the food. You know what I'm saying? So
That's the way we do it.
So
You
much
can also
more
turn it
fun that
around
way.
on them. I'm actually building more respect because
Yeah.
I'm, controlling this resource. You know,
For
they
sure.
know that they need this to survive. The pack leader provides
Yeah.
the kill, provides the food for the dog, right, or the wolf in this case. So I'm building respect because now they're relying on me. To give them this resource. So
Yeah.
just flip it around on them.
Yeah.
And you just totally let them know, hey, you have
Yeah.
no idea what you're talking about.
Well, and you can still accomplish there's a lot like with people that compete in obedience and things like that. I'm not super familiar with that world, but I know there's like certain competitions where you can't use any rewards or you can't use any remote collars, tools, or anything
You
like
gotta
that.
have everything off.
Can you use that stuff and still get to that point? Yes. Like you can still do an obedience session and get compliance from your dog without using food rewards or without using corrections, right? But you can use all of these things when you're doing your training day in and day out to build the muscle memory to get to that point, that goal. You know what I'm saying?
But it takes a lot.
It does.
It's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
These guys that are out here like running schutzen and decoy drills and all this other stuff, like,
Yeah.
takes a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
time,
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. All right, let's shift into euthanasia. Thoughts on killing dogs.
Overly prescribed.
And we've
That is o- it
the
is
reason why I bring that
overprescribed.
up, that term up, is because euthanasia, at least from my perspective, is for a dog that medically cannot live a good life.
Right.
You know, people that kill dogs because of some kind of behavior issue or other issue
Responsibility avoidance.
or lack of avoiding responsibility. That's killing a dog.
Yeah.
Euthanasia is and at least in my perspective, is a medical necessity. So, what are y'all's thoughts?
It's never the answer, like behaviorally, at least, in my opinion. It's extremely over suggested by trainers, by veterinarians, by people who may not fully understand what they're looking at from a behavioral standpoint. When I go to a vet office, I don't try to tell them anything about medical. We can have a conversation about behavioral, but I may be more well versed in the subject than they, because they're more focused on the medical side. So from a behavioral standpoint, from my standpoint alone, I can't tell you the amount of clients that I've had that have said, well, this trainer said I need to put my dog down, or this veterinarian said I need to put my dog down. It's like, your dog's just a little insecure and growls. Like, it's not true aggression.
Yeah.
So they don't understand a lot of it, but yeah, definitely overprescribed. I think it is a way to avoid, take responsibility, avoid just everything. So that right there is your answer. You find some little BS reason to go with that answer, and you cling on to it. We've dealt with that before from people who have contacted us for help, and they're like, "Well, it's a neurological issue. I think I got to put my dog down, or it's just never going to get better. They told me this is the cause of it. Just something genetic in them, something like that." So to me, it's just like pure avoidance, which we do naturally as humans, right?
Yeah. But also along that train of thought, some of these dogs they're legit. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have heavy management
Right.
structure in place.
Right.
You don't need to put them down. You don't need to kill them, but you need to be dedicated
Yeah.
to providing that dog with the best life possible. That might mean that dog is not the kind of dog where if you're having a party that it's mingling in the party.
Yeah.
That might mean that when you're having a party, you have your dog in its safe place, its kennel. That way you're still providing for its needs letting it remain in that calm, confident, relaxed mindset, instead of like letting it mingle around the party and then it bites somebody because it got scared or somebody triggered it. You know what I'm saying?
Especially in an environment like that, nice and stemmed up.
Right.
But these are things that need to be thought about before adopting a dog. You know, I know the stigma with dogs, you know, in all the movies, you know, not every dog's going to be Air Bud Golden Retriever, you know what I mean? You're just going to have to put in some dogs, you're just going to have to adjust to them and say, hey, this is how we have to. You know, I had to do it with Lulu and Wally, you know, for about 2 years before they both passed. It was strict management in that home 24/7, you know, just to make sure nothing bad happened. But it's just something that needs to be thought about before you see that cute little puppy at, you know, Charleston Animal Society.
When you get a dog, you're dedicated to him.
Right.
From my perspective, that's why when people are like, I've had the dog for 2 years, now I'm giving it up. I'm like, are you serious?
That's usually
You know
about
what
the
I'm saying?
time too, when it's not a
They started
Well,
cutting
yeah.
the personality.
When those happen, or I'm just too busy. I'm like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying?
Or think about this perspective too. Like this is something that we can deal with as well. Like Kevin mentioned, you got to think about these things before you adopt a dog. What about rescues? Right? So like rescues take on these kinds of dogs. Sometimes they're reaching out to us for training, things like that. This can be a challenge because we got nowhere for this dog to go. It's not been adopted. You know, it's sitting at this rescue. It's got aggression towards people or whatever. Yes, we can rehabilitate. Then what? Now what's the next step? If we don't have a foster or a person that's willing to adopt and be willing to do all of these things, to keep in mind, these people aren't fronting the money for training, right? So they're not financially invested in this dog. They just, oh, cute puppy, I want to adopt this dog, right? So like now we have another challenge of what does this rescue do with this dog in the meantime while we're trying to find homes, right? So like it's a tough topic, and I know a lot of rescues have had that conversation as well. Like, do we need to put this dog down? Do we need to euthanize this dog because we got nowhere for this dog to go?
Right.
Yes, we can get training, but now what? What's the next steps? You know what I'm saying? So like that brings up a whole nother topic. I think unfortunately, like it's easy for us to say you need to like suck it up and do the right thing, but I think it's not that black and white of a question. I think there's a lot to could be considered when we're talking about this kind of stuff. But I think my personal opinion is definitely in line with you guys. Like euthanasia is for medical reasons. It's a mercy. It's a dog that's in pain. That's got some kind of incurable disease that it's gonna die a slow and painful death. Where that's where you would use euthanasia. Behavioral issues can always be addressed, but you've got to be able to do the structure. It's not just about getting training. Training is not going to just resolve these things, all issues. You know, you got to be able to maintain the training. You got to be able to implement the structure that your trainer is recommending. All of that kind of stuff. So that all plays into it as well.
Well, in the rescue and foster world too, there's a lot of people who volunteer in that world and who operate in that world. You know, because it feels good. They want to save dogs. You know, whatever the case may be. One thing that they all need to remember is that it's not just enough to find a dog a home. There has to be other things in place, especially when you deal with the cases that we've dealt with. You know, so you can't just be like, oh, this person wants to adopt this dog. Hey, good to go. Well, this dog's got a long history of issues, and now maybe this person adopting is like a senior citizen. You know, so you're not setting anybody up for success at that point. So it's just not enough just to say, hey, dog goes here, dog goes here, dog goes here. You go home, you feel really good, and then you don't worry about it anymore. You know what I mean?
And that's like, we've had that. You know, we've had dogs. We work very closely with some rescues, and so like we've had that where the rescue say, hey, we got a potential candidate. Our job is to do our due diligence. Hey, give me their number. Let me have a conversation with these people. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's your lifestyle like? What are you looking for in a dog? You know, what do you have any kids? Do you have other dogs? Do you have other cats or whatever, right? And so now we can call the rescue and say, hey, I don't think this person's going to be a good fit for this dog. I've spent 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks with this dog. This is what I know that this dog needs. Just based on my brief conversation with this person, it doesn't seem like they're going to be a good fit to give this dog what they need. Or hey, this person's ready to rock and roll. Let's get the ball rolling. We're going to support them, set them up. You know, we've had both ends of the spectrum there. So I think everybody has to kind of come together to do their due diligence for this kind of stuff.
Also, like you said, we have that conversation a lot of times with rescues. They say, hey, we got this dog with this issue. You know, we want to get it trained so it's more adoptable. And it's like, all right, well, let's talk about, you know, we can get the training done for sure. But after the training, we're looking for a particular type of person that's particularly structured. And we've had where it takes months before we find that type of person. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it's just another trainer here.
Right. But even with that being said, you know, even most people, even if they're highly disciplined, highly structured, at some point they're gonna get a little complacent. They're gonna slack, and then something could happen. You know what I'm saying? Then they get demotivated. They feel defeated. They feel like they can't handle it. You know, And we're 100% committed because, like Chris said, we're calling them ahead of time. We're doing a bunch of different sessions, trying to get those dogs and those people good to go, 100% comfortable before we, recommend that they be good to go. If the rescue's open to that, some rescues are like, we'll take care of it or whatever. It's like, okay, that's their dog, But yeah, it can definitely be a tricky scenario, tricky situation. But that also brings up another point. First of all, I just want to make sure I write this down. So I want to talk about animal sanctuaries here in a second. But also, we got a ton of shelters in the area. They don't have any room, So they are euthanizing dogs all the time because they have no room. At least that's my understanding. You know what I'm saying?
Even though they say they don't use dogs.
Isn't there like an escalation process? Like if they spend X amount of time at this shelter, they get bumped down to this one, and then
I don't know how it all
very
works.
Confusing.
Like I know for a fact that each county, and Chris might be able to correct me or Megan, but like each county has an animal center or a rescue, right? The animals are there. They start running out of room, so they have to start.
They'll like eval and dictate.
Right.
But even then, I think it's I don't quote me on this, but I think Berkeley County Animal Society at one point they were not operating. Like they lost funding. Like they were they're just, hey, Berkeley County does not have an animal shelter and I don't know how long that was until they were back up and running, which I think they are now. But that's all state government funded and ran, and so sometimes priorities in the government shift, and that's going to be a low priority.
Right.
Now,
so what I'm saying is, how do you fix that? How do you fix the running out of room? How do you fix?
I mean, that's a way bigger
that
conversation.
Is like such a broad.
So I mean,
I'm just asking a question.
That's a huge conversation. I mean, I don't. Mike Ritland actually has a pretty good conversation about this. It's kind of. I think people would have a lot of issues with it, but it does come down to responsibility on our part. Like what's the issue is overpopulation. You know what I'm saying? We got people that are breeding poorly. The quality of the genetics that they're doing is bad. So now somebody adopts that dog or buys that dog or whatever. It's like not their expectations. They just dump the dog off, right? So like you're failing on your responsibility as a human being that takes on another life form, and that's just happening thousands and thousands of times probably by the day across the country, across the world. You know what I'm saying?
Whether they are intentionally breeding them to like sell them, or they just don't realize what their dogs are doing. Now they have puppies. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Sure. It's a combo of both.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, like you have accidental litters that are happening all the time. So like, yeah, that's one, like, what are you going to do to those puppies now? You know what I mean? Like, yes, we have, like, it's like on one end, it's like, okay, me as a trainer, I have an accidental litter. Let's say I have one today, right? I'm like, I know these are poorly bred dogs. They're going to have all these issues of insecurity. What do you do? What's your options? Like you're not going to just kill the puppies right there. You know what I mean? So yeah, obviously that's what I would do, right? Hey, like this is this happened on my watch. It's an accidental litter. I have responsibility to either rehome these dogs, train them, get them set up.
They're definitely getting trained if they're your puppies.
Very busy.
I mean, yeah, I'm training them, or sell them or whatever. But again, it's like, what are most people doing? You guys hear the stories all the time. They're going to take this litter, they're going to put it in a cardboard box, and they're going to dump it somewhere. Now it ends up at the shelter. Boom, overcrowding, right? So like it's such a big, complex problem. I don't think there is a realistic solution, right? Short of just killing dogs, which is what's basically happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely goes down a crazy scenario action. But then you got animal sanctuaries. Where they take dogs there, and even these places have limited space, but they take dogs and the dog gets to live out this life there. Let's say it's a dog that is one of those dogs that can't be with the normal house because it needs more structure, more management than most people are able to provide to it. They go out to an animal sanctuary, they get a nice yard area, they get a shelter area to sleep in and all that, they get food and water and heat during the winter, shelter from rain and elements. You know what I'm saying? They can live out their life there as best as possible, And there's one that I know of in the area. I don't know if there's other ones, but maybe these types of organizations need to become more prevalent. I don't know. Yeah. But now we're talking about a crazy management scenario to run one of these things. Hats off to the people that run Hallie Hill Animal Sanctuary in Hollywood.
I mean, they get it running so quick if it went that route.
Yeah. Yeah, but they only have X amount of spots.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? you got high risk dogs that can hurt other dogs or hurt people or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they have to be managed certain ways.
I don't know their intake process, but I'm sure they have to be pretty picky and straight. It's not like they're just taking like somebody. Hey, I just had an accidental litter. Can I give them these puppies to you? Or whatever.
Right.
Like I'm sure they're pretty picky as far as the cases that they're taking on.
Right.
Like I think some of these dogs that they have are like just straight up feral dogs. You know what I'm saying?
Like they can't be rehomed. They just keep the ones.
And they
that
do.
get-
I think they
yeah.
do. Don't they?
They do
adopt
dogs out that can be
okay.
adopted.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But basically, if a dog cannot be adopted, or if a dog is just too much to manage for most people,
It stays there for
it
its
just
life.
stays there and it lives out the life to the best of its ability. It gets exercise. It gets whatever it needs out there.
I mean, it's doing what it's wanting. It's happy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if
So
it doesn't want to
don't-
be around people, it's in its element.
That's
you know?
that's a good kind of place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So like I guess you could say like that would be. I mean, it's not really though. You could say like that could be the solution, but it's really not. It's
yeah.
not
Because there's too many.
Exactly. You
It's
can't
like-
keep
Too many.
up. You can't
Right.
keep up.
It's like a pipe dream for like really people that have these aggressive dogs that they can't manage. They're like, oh, I'll send it to a farm or a sanctuary. I was like,
Right.
you can try. You can call these people and
Yeah.
really try. But sometimes it comes down to like, is this dog safe? Can these people manage it? Yeah, maybe I could personally take this dog on and manage it. You guys can take this dog on, manage it. But if this dog gets out of this person's home and it attacks a child or another
Right.
dog, how would I feel about it?
Yeah.
So I have the mindset like, can we save them all? No. I mean, you can try, offer our skills, our skill set to the best of our abilities. But in the dog world, it is very overcrowded. It's chaos. You get into the rescue game, you're not sleeping.
No.
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
So
Nonstop.
yeah, so it's hard to separate yourself from that. But at the end of the day, in order to maintain and keep this business as successful as possible, I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've had people call me before too. Late at night, something happened with their dog. They're scared. They went to the ER, whatever, and they asked me, should I put him down? I'm like, well, that's your decision to make.
Right.
You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Because you need to implement this management. And I'll lay out everything for them. This structure, lay it all out for them. And someone might be like, well, you know what? I'm not able to do that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and then they tell me later, like, hey, I ended up putting them down. I'm like, that's your decision to make. I'm not judging
Yeah.
you either way.
You can't
Yeah.
get sucked into that.
Right.
Right.
I'm not judging you either way. Like, I understand both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I know that it doesn't need to be done, but I understand why you made that decision. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm at with those kind of people,
Yeah.
or those people that I talk about that with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I've had them literally tell me, I can't manage my dog 24/7. I'm like, why not?
Well, don't you technically manage your dog 24/7
Right, yeah,
anyway?
you do.
You're already doing it. You
do
just don't
anyway.
realize it.
Like me personally, I have a dog. Again, that's why I got into dog training. That used to attack me, no factor anymore. But like even now, if I have family or friends or a party or whatever at my house, which I don't like parties,
He does them all the time. Man.
and my wife loves
I was
parties.
about to say, I don't know if it's him as much.
He's there.
Yeah, I got the jump castle, honey. Yeah.
But if I have these things going on, guess where he's at? He's in his safe place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? His kennel. And then whenever the party's over, he gets to go back to normal routine.
Yeah.
And I make sure that I satisfy his needs first thing in the morning. I satisfy his needs at the end of the day. So I'm doing everything I can to satisfy his needs, And if this dog was with anybody other than someone like us, the dog would not be in a good place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's because people look at that and they're like, oh, dude, it's cruel.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's management.
Yeah, right.
You're doing
Yeah.
what's best for your
Yeah,
dog
some
and what's
people
best for
think.
you.
Yeah, some people think if your dog's in a kennel
crate,
during a party
yeah.
that it's cruel.
No.
It's not.
That's
You know
their
what I'm saying?
time to hang out.
Which they would just be sleeping on the couch anyway.
Right. Yeah,
Same
exactly.
thing. So whatever.
Your dog, probably most of the dogs that we go to, they're anxious when there's a party because they're pacing
Yeah.
around.
They would
they're
prefer
to be in the
panting.
kennel.
They'd
Actually,
rather
They would
have a
prefer
calm
to be
place.
away
Yeah.
out of the chaos.
Yeah, it's more cruel to have your dog in that chaos where it's just like
making
going
them go
crazy.
through those bad repetitions,
Yeah.
feeding those less than positive mindsets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, it comes down to responsibility. Even if in that party you let Bane out, you're still not like 100% just engaged with your host or hosting.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're still like watching. You're still observing your dog's body language. You're still being very hyper vigilant and like doing the responsible thing. You know what I'm saying? Like even if you get to that point,
I mean,
Some
I will
people-
let him out sometimes, and again, I'm watching him the whole
Oh yeah,
time.
I know.
And-
He's
and-
stolen some of my cheeseburgers sometime off of my plate.
He does like your cheeseburgers.
Yeah, he does. He does, and the hot dogs.
And your hot dogs.
Yeah, but the point is, you're still taking ownership. You're taking responsibility, doing what you're supposed to be doing as a dog owner. And if people can't do that level, then they have to do the other level of putting them up, and you got to be able to live with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't let it, like, the thing is, people let it affect them too much. It's
It's
like
so
not
weird.
a big deal.
You're just
Yeah.
controlling
You
the
care
environment.
about it
People,
more
look
than
at
they
me like
care
I'm the
about it, right?
devil when I tell them, I'm like, you got to crate the dog when you have a 3-year-old birthday party,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like, why? I'm
Yeah.
like, because I mean, your dog is not comfortable.
Yeah.
Do you want
Better
to
for
lose
the dog,
your
dude.
house? Do you want to get sued?
Yeah.
I mean, it's your dog being crated for 3 hours is not the end of the world,
No. Right.
and you're doing right by the dog too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
You have a chaotic
you're
environment.
not setting him up to fail.
Yeah, you have a chaotic environment. It's just better.
Yeah.
Good
Sometimes I wish I
management.
could put myself in the kennel.
Get
out of the park. Sorry, Kelly, I got to stay in the kennel for this one.
Should probably lock you in there.
Yeah, she would.
All right, shifting gears now. We're kind of talking about responsibility. We're talking about there's a lot of dogs. What about spay neuter? What do you guys think about that? You know, a lot of people are going to tell you need a spay, you need a neuter.
I think it's
You
good
know?
for a population, but I think a lot of people look at, especially neutering, for a behavioral fix, and it's like everything that we've read. It's not maybe a little bit, take the edge off, but it's not guaranteed. But also, I think that's something that's over kind of prescribed too.
Yeah.
If you're a responsible dog owner, you want to maximize aesthetics, and like a Doberman, for instance, you go the full 2-3 years. And then you can get the neutering, obviously, to avoid cancer in the areas and all that good stuff. But at that point, too, you have to kind of make sure that no accidental things happen. So that's a responsibility thing. I think that a lot of, especially the rescues and foster, and I get why they do it. They want to, they're trying to help their own business out. If I spay and neuter this dog at 8 weeks old before they get adopted out, I don't have to worry about it later. And things that I've read, won't necessarily cause problems, but it's like too early. They haven't grown,
Way
they
too
haven't
early.
developed everything
Yeah.
that they need to develop. What they need those like hormones and things from. So I think that it happens too early a lot, but I can also see why they do it.
So, I mean, based on our research, like The Dog's Mind, that's a book that we've mentioned pretty frequently. So I definitely recommend that book, but they touch on this a little bit. But basically, it's probably a bigger deal with males than it is with females. And so hormones do play a factor with this, and it can affect the dog's mind. So what he says, is that Bruce Fogel, right? He's the author. So what he says, Dr. Bruce Fogel,
Retired.
He says with the males, obviously there's testosterone at play, and that can affect the dog's mind, right? And so with behaviors that we would see where vets recommend neutering a lot would be something like dominance type things, right? Or marking in the house, or humping things, right? Different things like that. He says if the behaviors have not been established, there's a 50-50 chance, right? So 50-50 chance it may curb those behaviors. If those behaviors are already established, it's very likely that it's not going to have any kind of effect, right? So if your dog has established a habit of marking on things inside of your house, you go and get them neutered, maybe it will curb it a little bit, but that behavior, you're going to have to do something else to address that behavior, right? So testosterone all plays in here. I think it's more beneficial to delay the neutering to get the benefits of the testosterone for them to fully develop bone structure, everything like that. From the female side, I don't know, but I don't think it's quite as big of a deal, because I think the hormones affect them only whenever they're having what is it called? Their heat, right? So which is what, once or twice a year, right? Something like that. So that's where hormones get, you can have you've heard of dogs having phantom pregnancies, different things like that. So they'll get a little, maybe get protective, resource guarding, that kind of stuff. So that can play a factor in their mind as far as the hormones affecting it. But outside of that, I don't think it's as big of a deal as far as spaying them. And I don't remember exactly what his recommendation on is when to do that. Maybe before the first heat.
He said, he said if you do it before the first heat, you can curb some of those potential behaviors.
Yeah.
But I think if you wait after the first or second heat, then you get more hormone benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
a
a lot of hormone benefits to keeping
sure.
them intact.
For
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But let's say you keep your male intact, right? You can still prevent the marking and the dominant behaviors. You just don't allow your dog to perform those behaviors.
Boom.
Your dog will only do what you allow it to do. I don't know how many times I got to say this freaking phrase. You know what I'm saying? Your dog will only do what you allow it to do. So someone literally before has said, so-and-so likes to go pee on that bush. I'm like, you're the one letting him go pee on the bush. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So literally, you can manage your dog and not allow them to do things that you don't want them to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, people are looking for the easy way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
they're like, oh, I just got to neuter him.
Their vet says, yeah, go ahead and neuter them. That'll fix that. Oh, cool. That's easy.
Yeah.
Right? And then you do it, and then you're missing out on a lot of testosterone. You're missing out on a lot of benefits. And guess what? Your dog's still doing the things you like. They're still humping your leg or whatever. You know what I mean?
If you have a dominant dog, it's going to be dominant because before your dog's even born, a male, they already get testosterone put into their system. So it's going to be, so if you get them neutered, it's not going to affect that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
any other thoughts on that, Megan?
well,
What do you got?
my dog's not neutered. You guys know that.
Yeah.
He's a little insecure with like strange handlers and stuff. So I felt that, and I go to the vet and they're like, well, he's nervous. You should neuter him. I'm like, isn't that the opposite of what I should do? Why would I cut his testosterone off? And like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because he's like wailing and like screaming, like the worst sounds you'll ever hear come out of this dog's mouth. And I'm like, you want me to neuter him? He's like screaming bloody murder right now.
He's already got traumatic association with the vet.
So I also get nervous. I'm like, okay, my dog's going to be under tremendous stress, going under like anesthesia and all this stuff. My other dog was under so much stress when she got her teeth cleaned. They said she barely even went limp. I'm like, oh, Edmund is not going to have it. So I have decided not to neuter him just because I feel like I don't really like see a need to. Like he's really actually generally really good with other dogs. He's probably more dominant and confident, but he's not looking to like start anything as far as from, when I work with him, he's awesome. So and people will be like, why haven't you neutered him? I'm like, I just don't really see the need to.
Yeah.
So
it's funny how people want to control other people.
I'm like, why do you care about my dog's like organs?
You should neuter. You're irresponsible.
Why are you looking at my dog's balls? You know? I got Bane neutered when he was 3, but going back, if I could redo it, I just wouldn't get him neutered. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Alexi's dog's got a nice pair on him.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like, I agree with Megan. I mean, honestly, because I have one that is neutered just because he was a, rescue. And I mean, that makes sense. So I would agree, like, that does make sense for rescues to do it. But I mean,
but I still kind of wish he wasn't. I think he'd be, he'd be a little bit more
but I mean, even with him, like, being neutered once again, I mean, no effect. Like him and, my dog that's not neutered, they're going to do like the same things. Like, it's like, yes, they have different personality traits, so it makes it a little different, but it's like whether or not my second dog was neutered, I mean, he's going to do the same things anyway. So yeah, I agree. It's like with my first dog, it's like, okay, why do I neuter him? It's not necessarily necessary. Like, yeah, I mean, don't need it. It's not really going to change much. Might as well just leave him.
Yeah.
And let me just point out, the one that's not neutered, if you let him, he'll hump a pillow. He'll still, so it,
no
factor there.
He'll still hump a pillow. He's still, dominant. That doesn't change it. That doesn't change it.
Same thing with Zdeno.
Yeah.
Trying to hump that guy at Dog and Duck.
That's funny. All right, let's talk about, the people that are like, adopt, don't shop versus getting a dog from a breeder. What we got there? Opening up a can of worms here.
I mean, I get I get what they're saying. Like, I do get it, but it's like also like that's kind of one of those things where you can't just say that and expect people to follow it. Like, it's like, everyone has a personal preference. Everyone, has a dream dog. It's like same thing saying like, okay, never get your dream house because there's houses that exist. It's like, okay, don't build a new house because there's other houses you can buy. It's like, okay, that's not realistic. Like, yeah, okay, I get it, but and there is other dogs that need homes, like say shelter dogs, but also like we already talked about, like the shelters are so overrun. It's like, yes, you're helping, but there's going to be so many more dogs that are just coming in. So that kind of goes into the, breeding less dogs, which I guess if you're not shopping, that can create, less of a designer breed, but it's like that's not a realistic thing to say because it's not going to have that much of an effect.
I've had it happen to me too, and I think a lot of it is just like self-fulfillment of that other person.
Yeah,
this is what you need to do so I can feel good.
Yeah,
first of all, a person's going to be more motivated to dedicate their time and their resources to their dog if they get what they want.
Yeah,
versus getting what somebody else tells them to get them. But I've had it before where like a pity puppy batch has come out. People are trying to get rid of them on Facebook, whatever. I see them, aesthetics are nice. I make a comment. Hey, can you hit me up with information about this? Get bombarded by people. There's plenty in the shelters. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
First off, you don't know me.
Yeah.
Since I've had dogs, I've had nothing but rescues, so I think I've done my part at this time. You know? So maybe I can get what I'm desiring in this moment. You know? So a lot of it's just like, and I get what they're trying to do. You know, they're trying to help. I understand, but I think it also boils down to like an ego.
Yeah.
I have to self-fulfill to make other people do this thing. But like you said, even if everybody at the stable went and adopted a dog right now out of the shelter,
It's not
tomorrow
gonna have
there's
an
going to
effect.
be more.
Yeah.
You know, so it's get what you want, you know,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you got to be dedicated to your dog. You have to be motivated to spend that time with them. So.
And it honestly doesn't really change anything either, because like those designer, like the designer breeds, or, you know, those like special breeds, like they're still going to be breeding those. Like that's never going to change. It's like there's always going to be, it's like, you know, both dogs need a home, whether it's, you know, been bred properly or whether it's in a shelter. They're all going to need a home regardless. Like it's, you know, still the same amount of dogs.
You got to start telling them, why don't you go adopt another one?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got 4. Well, you're not dedicated?
Exactly.
Get 5.
Yeah, exactly.
I have people that have wonderfully bred dogs, and I will be like, can I have your breeder's info? Because I've had friends be like, hey, do you know any golden retriever breeders, or do you know any breeders? And I will take breeders' numbers from dogs that I know are super well-rounded. And I think that's the responsible thing to do, because if they don't want to rescue a dog, that's their preference, and it's really, like, in my opinion, no one's business.
Right.
Like, you do your research, you get the kind of dog you want. If a rescue dog does fall into your lap that fits into your lifestyle and that you love, then yeah, absolutely. But either way, whether you get a rescue or you get a purebred dog, you're still going to need to train it. So, you know, and follow through on responsibility of taking care of that dog. So, I mean, it's just, I obviously love adopting dogs and fostering dogs, and I'll continue to do so. But I feel like, you know, you can't really judge people if they buy a dog from a really good breeder.
Yeah.
And I keep my eyes on the shelter. You know, if something comes in that I want to take some interest in and look at, you know, say a Cane Corso comes in, I'm gonna go check it out. All right, that Cane Corso's a psycho. I'm not just gonna adopt it so
Sign
somebody
me
else
up.
can feel
I like
it.
the psychos now.
You know, just as a general rule. And then when I got Lulu, I adopted her not because I necessarily wanted a pit. I adopted her because my emotions got in the way. She was hospice. She was a 3-time return. This is before I became a trainer and understood behavior, by the way. And it was just like, they pulled her out. She looked sad. So now I'm like, oh, don't put her up. You know, I got to take her home now. You know, there was a lot of dedication with that.
Yeah.
You know, so at the same, you just can't really force people to do it. Is it a good recommendation? Yes. You know, obviously all these dogs need help.
Yeah.
But it's just not feasible in every situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound, don't twist my words. This is going to sound wrong. I love my dogs. All right.
Someone's gonna twist your words.
I know. I don't care. I really don't care. So, like, I absolutely love my dogs. I did fall into that. Like, when we were getting dogs, that's what was being told to me. Like, oh, there's plenty of dogs. Don't go to a breeder, you know, adopt. I'm like, cool, I'll do that, you know? And so that's how I got Vader. I got Lola. I got Leia, right? They're all 3 rescues. So like now knowing what I know now, like if I were to go back in time and select a dog, all 3 of them would probably not be chosen. Because that's just is what it is. Like, I have certain things that I like in dogs. Like, I like a working dog. I want to be able to do active things. I want to go on a run with my dog. I want to be able to play fetch, throw a ball. I want to do bite work. I like that kind of stuff. That stuff is what I'm very passionate about. None of my dogs do that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I've spent years trying to teach Vader and do fetch. He's finally at the point where I can, like, maybe get 3 or 4 ball throws and then he's like done. He's just not into it, because I'm also not going to like force him to do something that he's not enjoying, you know. Like I mean, just recently, and he's like 11 years old now. I took him on a run. He's just getting to that point. He can't run anymore, right? So now, like, I'm looking at, like, if I could go back, I probably would pick a dog more suitable to what my goals are in a dog. So like maybe I could find that at a shelter, right? Like, I'm not saying take that off the table, but I'm saying, like, let's not be judgmental of people that know what they want and go to a breeder to get that kind of stuff. You know, like, there's a reason why we have all of these hundreds of different dog breeds out there, you know, because like different dogs are bred for different things, for different working capacities. You got the hunting dogs, you got protection dogs, you got your couch potatoes, you know, you got your couch potatoes that also like to get after it, you know, aka Frenchies, right? So like everybody,
not all Frenchies.
not all Frenchies. But I mean, you need to know what you want in a dog and then get it. Whether that's at a breeder, don't feel guilt for going to a breeder to a good established breeder to get what you want. So.
Well, the decision can't be emotional. It's got to be rational.
Exactly.
Because emotional is temporary.
For sure.
That's how you get I had him for a couple weeks. Oh, now it's not working out.
Bingo.
It's because in that moment you wanted him, you wanted to help, and now you're not dedicated.
Yeah.
But if you have a list of goals and like what you want out of your dog, and then you go and find it, that's where the chemistry is going to start happening.
Yeah.
And we're going to lessen the likelihood of that dog returning to the shelter, getting rehome, getting euthanized, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Now I will say this. Let's say you do fall into the trap, right? And you get a dog and it doesn't meet your expectations. You adopted that dog, right? All 3 of my dogs. Now you have a responsibility.
Yep.
You signed up for it. Doesn't matter if they're not going to fetch, and you wanted a dog that would fetch. Or it doesn't matter that you wanted a dog to do bite work, but you picked a dog that's just not suitable for that, right? Like you have a responsibility to that dog. You adopted that dog. You took on that responsibility. So you have a responsibility to fulfill that dog's potential to their potential, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, my 2 cents is if you're going to get a dog from a breeder, don't go with the $400 dog off Craigslist because that's not a good breeder.
I'm out in Holly Hill, actually. Oh, yeah, right in the backyard. Okay.
Make sure you go with the price that is suitable for the type of dog you're getting.
Yeah.
Like if you're getting a well-bred dog, that's going to be several $1,000s, not several $100s.
Yeah.
So just keep
Couple
that in
Jeezys,
mind.
huh?
Yeah.
What you pay for.
First of all. Second of all, if you're like getting if you're like, I want a Doberman, for example, but you don't want it for any specific reason, but you're like, I just want a Doberman. I mean, you could find a Doberman at a shelter and you could adopt that dog and then you'd have your Doberman and then it's your dog and you adopted it. So you're good to go there. But if you have a goal, like Chris said, I want to be able to do Schutzen. I want to be able to do PSA. I want to be able to play fetch. You know what I'm saying? And I want a Doberman. Now you have a goal. Now you have a breed that you want. Now you can go find a breeder that has a bloodline who's historically able to complete those goals. You know what I'm saying? And you can get a well-bred dog from a established bloodline that helps you meet your goals with the breed that you want. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
I will say Zdeno was kind of an emotional decision now that I think about it. Because I was like, man, he's just going to be stuck.
Yeah.
He's got nowhere to go. Like, I'll do it. Like, I'll take the burden,
Yeah.
Obviously, I love my dog. I never thought I'd have a Great Dane. But, at this point, I love my dog. I couldn't imagine not having him because, I made the emotional decision, but I stuck with it, obviously.
exactly.
Because I knew what it was when I was getting him.
Yeah.
But that's kind of funny. I still do that.
So what you're saying is you actually are.
I'm an emotional guy.
Soft guy.
Yeah, man. I
You're
write
an
poetry and
emotional guy.
everything, yeah.
You got the tattoos. You got the hard look.
It's
you got
all
the
a
glasses.
facade. It's all
Actually,
fake.
you don't have your glasses on right now.
No, I
What the
thought
hell's
about it. I was
going
going
on?
to put them on. You were
I
going to say
know.
something. Said something anyway.
But yeah, I mean, if you got goals of a breed you want, you want to do certain work, go to a breeder, get a well-bred dog established with that bloodline. If you don't really care, but you do want a certain breed, you can a lot of times find those breeds at shelters. But if you want to go with the breeder, you go with the breeder. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you can if you are dead set on I want to do my part in rescue. Like you can still be responsible and also get what you want.
Right.
Like we tell
Absolutely.
people all the time, reach out to us. We'll help you pick a dog. We've had people that are like, hey, I want to do therapy work at the hospitals with kids and stuff like that, but I want a rescue dog. I want to do a rescue dog. Cool. Like, hey, we'll it might take us some time, but we're gonna shop around, meet some dogs, and we'll find something suitable for you in that world. But just still do your due diligence. You know what I mean? You can still get best of both worlds, I think.
Even with fosters too, don't just take any.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that system's abused.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know where to put this. Oh, this lady takes every dog we tell her. Because again, it's that response.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, there are breed-specific rescues too. So
Yeah.
you might want a Belgian Malinois, for example.
That's my next one I want.
Ooh.
Yes.
Good choice.
But let's say
Need
you
a
want
Kronos.
let's say you want one that plays fetch. You go to the Belgian Malinois rescue. You might have to sift through those dogs to figure out which one plays fetch.
Just throw a ball into the pen.
Because believe it or not all of them will do that.
Oh yeah.
So that's just like an example. But there are breed-specific rescues, and like Chris said, you can probably locate a dog that can help you meet your goals. I'm kind of of the mindset, usually if I have a goal, I have a breed, like Doberman, for example, just random example, and, I have a goal, I want to raise that dog up from a puppy and
sure.
establish things from the very
Yeah.
beginning, set my foundation, work all my training progression phases all the way up until I'm at that goal point. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of factors to consider in that, but you definitely should not shame anybody for selecting a breed that they want or going to a breeder.
Yeah.
Talking about breeds, what about, the haters on body modification on dogs? Tail docking, ear cropping. What do you guys think? What do you guys say?
That kind of goes into like, okay, take ear cropping, for example, kind of like remote collars too. It's like, if people don't understand it, there's a lack of education there, but also it's like, okay, if you're spaying or neutering your dog, you're also getting them a surgery. To the dog, it's just a surgery. The dog doesn't know, like, it doesn't understand the specifics, like, oh, this time my ears got cut, last time, maybe my balls got cut. Like, the dog literally does not get it. It's the same thing to them. So it's like, okay, well, if you're saying, okay, you're awful for cropping the ears, it's like, well, did you spay or neuter your dog? Because that's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of that's like the docking and the ear cropping is aesthetics. They want the dog to look a certain way, and a lot of times it looks good. I don't know if I would necessarily do it. Like, if I ever adopted a Doberman, it'd probably just look like a hound. That's the one that's
like funky looking hounds.
Yeah, it is funky looking.
But I think at the end of the day too, it's a choice of the owner.
Yeah,
and a lot of it's just tradition as well.
Yeah,
it's not, you do it right. Like, again, anything that you do in the dog world, if you do it at the right time and you do it correctly, you're not going to have an issue.
Well, if you're going to compete, there are breed standards.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you like, one of the breed standards might be ear crop. So if you
Yeah.
don't do that, you can't compete with that dog because it doesn't meet the breed standard.
And you can't even get into the club.
Right.
Yeah.
And people modify their own bodies all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Humans do.
Yeah,
They
seriously.
do
I've
all
done it
kinds
like 30 times.
And you can also say, like, there is like some breeds who, like, have long skinny tails that can easily break. So it's like, docking their tails actually is more beneficial for
Right,
them
like
too.
prone
So
to like
End up
ear
docking
infections.
them.
yeah,
So,
ear infections
now it's
having
open.
big floppy ears. So,
One time
like,
Vader whacked the tip of his tail and spread blood all over the house.
Oh, yeah.
Tasted that too.
yes.
I know friends whose pit bulls have done that. They've had to
Yeah.
dock the tail
Yeah.
later in life
Yeah.
because the tail was just, whacking them.
Whipped, knocked
Break
things
it.
all over the place.
What do you guys think about shifting gears? What about flat collars? What's your thoughts on flat collars?
Horrible. Take them off the shelf.
Yeah, just no.
Stop using flat
Well,
collars.
hold on. Let me backpedal a little bit. I'm not 100% against flat collars.
Like,
If
they're-
that's your primary collar that you're putting your leash on, not good to go, right? So, like, I have a collar. I go camping a lot. I go night hiking, right? Got
Don't
Vader.
tell me you put a flat collar on.
He's black. You can lose him in the night.
He's got white spots on him.
You can't see it when it's dark. I'm old. My vision is diminishing. I got a flat collar that I put on him. It has like a little LED light on it. Good to go. I can spot him now when I'm walking
So
around.
it's like a light collar.
Yeah,
not a
it
flat
lights
collar.
up. No, it's a flat collar with a light inside the flat collar. It's pretty cool. But like,
I think I've
I'll
seen
take
those.
it camping, clip it on, let him go f off in the woods or whatever, and I can see where he's at. You know what I'm saying? But now I still have my remote collar. I still got my fur saber. If I need to put him on the leash, I use my fur saber. I'm not going to use that flat collar.
If I ever make our own remote collars, I'm putting them with the lights in there so you
Yeah.
can light it up at night.
The
I actually like
E-Collar
that.
Technologies has that.
I know, but I hate those collars.
The mini educator?
I might be a dog trick convert because I do like my dog trick, but
I actually like that
I
idea
just
of a
hate
flat
the
collar.
remote.
Yeah.
of
the
those
remote's
collars.
pretty bad. Yeah.
Zdeno, I used to just like when I lived out in the country and it's pitch black, I'd just be squinting my eyes trying to look for the flash of the remote collar.
Yeah.
I'd see like a little green. I'm like, all right, he's over there.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do.
But even still, like with training in place, like that's just something I like to do. I don't need that.
You like the flat light
like it.
collars?
I like
huh?
it.
You're
Flat
into
collar
it.
as a decoration, not
It's
as
cool.
not as a
Yeah.
tool. to
Cool,
use.
man. I like it. I'm like,
This
oh,
is
cool, nice little light. Vader's over there.
decoration collar.
But I mean, I don't need that. There's also times like I
many
let him out in my
colors.
backyard. It's pitch black. I can't see him. I just recall him. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
with the training, the flat collar is not needed. But it definitely should not be your primary collar that you're
And there's an explanation for that. Why? Is they'll slip it.
Yeah.
They put a little pressure on. I see dogs. They start thrashing, gator rolling, bloop, collars
Yeah.
off.
Slips off all the time.
So that's a nice
So
little
annoying.
spike or Barbie collar you got on your dog, and now it's laying on the ground, and your dog's going ham. So, using it definitely a first saver training collar is the way to go in my opinion. Any kind of slip, even a martingale.
Martingale, that's good to go.
Yeah.
I kind of like
know?
martingales. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never used one.
They're fine. They're technically
I
a
use it for my
flat collar.
older
Right, where they tighten.
female dog.
They do tighten.
She likes
The
them.
main thing about a flat collar I don't like is that they just fall off the dog all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but like I do see like if your dog's trained and you have the remote collar on and like, if you are, the expectation and your dog's not going to pull on that. Like, I mean, I don't see an issue with clipping a leash to a flat collar if your dog is one that's been, highly trained to understand the expectations.
All right,
like, okay,
valid point.
then the flat collar doesn't really matter because they're not using it. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's like you do have to maintain it. You can't just put it on and then be like, oh, now my dog started pulling. Like you have to make sure that, you can rely on the remote collar. But it's like in my head, I have 2 dogs now.
You have a flat collar on Nitro, don't you?
No, but I just bought 2 new ones with their names written on the side.
Yeah, I have the fancy flat.
Yeah, and it's like because like
Going full anthropomorphic on
well, it's because that's more for me.
Exactly.
No, but it's like, I barely have leashes on them anyway. So it's like, okay, the first savers are never touched. They're always wearing their remote collars. That's what I use for my accountability. So it's like, honestly, to me, it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal, but it's because I'm at the level with my dogs where they don't need a leash. They don't need a fur saver anymore because the remote collar's fine. So it's like at that point I can see it. Now, if there's obviously no training or not maintained training, of course I agree, no flat collar. But I don't see an issue if your dog's good to go.
So
I know their names.
I do. I do.
I operate on the paranoid level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remote collar
I
system
go
goes
paranoid.
down, something happens. I need something else that's going to be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I feel like I'm at the relationship now with my dog. I tell people all the time, I trust him 100% fully. I know he's going to do what I ask of him. But there's certain situations where I'm still like hovering over my remote collar because just in case, So we say, right, living, breathing beings. They decide in that moment, hey, this is what I'm going to go do. Well, I need something in place for my own benefit, my own personal well-being. But that's just me. I'm a very paranoid person. So.
Going back to dog names real quick, since Lexi likes everyone to know her dog names. When I have my dogs out in public and people are like, what's his name? I'll come up with a random name. I'm like, his name's Bob. And they'll be like, hey, Bob. And Bane's just looking around. Like nothing's going. They're like, hey, Bob. I'm like, oh, he doesn't care about you.
I mean, even if they called him Bane, he probably would still.
That's funny.
Yeah, he would blow him off. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about prong collars? What do y'all think?
It's a tool.
Same thing as remote collar. Got to be
good
used
tool.
properly.
I don't
Gotta be
think it's a
safe.
good, like people will use them as their, again, kind of like a flat collar.
Just a
as
normal
their sole
walking collar. Yeah.
We did a video on how to use one properly. Check that out.
A lot of positive feedback.
We got a lot of
Yeah,
comments.
those comments were amazing.
I don't know if it was positive feedback. But I mean, a lot of people use it wrong where it's like super loose, right? And they're just using that every day. Like, well, yeah, I use a prong collar every single day when I go on a walk. Like, I don't think that's really the purpose of the prong collar. Like, it should be a tool that we use to accomplish a certain goal, and then we kind of fade that tool away. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the prong
Can
collar.
be used if needed, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rare.
I usually
can't tell you
fade
the last
everyone
time.
out to like a
Yeah.
slip.
yeah.
I can tell you the last time I used one.
Yeah, I'm
it's
the
it's
same.
so rare that
Yeah.
I can usually accomplish what I need to with the
Right.
fur saver. You know what I mean? Rarely will I actually I think I need to use a prong collar. Usually, if I just take my time, develop that relationship, I don't really even.
The good thing about a prong collar is that it does apply pressure evenly around the neck.
Yeah.
Versus the martingale and like a slip and a fur saver and a nylon dominant dog, they apply pressure to one part of the neck.
Yeah.
So that is a benefit to the prong collar, which should be used again as needed in training. Going back to comments on social media, we got some good comments recently.
How to create an aggressive dog 101. It was something like that.
No. We got some good comments from our international community this week about me specifically. But YouTube automatically blocked it because it was such a vulgar comment.
What was the comment again?
I cannot say in public.
Can you say it in the language that it was given?
No, I cannot. But it was an extremely vulgar comment, let's just say.
Nice.
I'll tell you guys that.
Not in a good way, huh?
No.
Bring it on, baby.
From our international community. It was
Haters
very,
gonna hate,
very
as they
interesting. Very interesting. All right.
Watch our videos to find out.
Go figure
And
out
then
what-
like it, and then subscribe.
Go figure out what video it was. All right, what do you guys think about, now that we're talking about collars, what do you think about dogs that are off leash in public? Public places.
I mean, I take my dog off leash. I mean,
Yeah, but it also depends on the control you have over
Yeah.
your
right.
dog.
So I can't really have like a general opinion on it. It's
Yeah.
like case by
Like
case.
untrained or trained dogs off leash.
Just off leash in public.
I mean, I
First,
can't tell
your
you
thoughts.
like how many times like I've taken my 2 dogs out and there's been an off leash dog that the owner had no control of running up to my dogs who, okay, then they're put in an uncomfortable situation. If they lash out, honestly not totally my dog's fault. Obviously, I am going to, hold them accountable for the behavior, remove them from the situation. But it's like, if your dog's coming up to mine and I'm telling you, hey, come get your dog, and you have no control, no way to get your dog, you're kind of putting your dog in danger too. So it's like, I don't see an issue if you have control, but it's like, if people are like, oh yeah, my dog has a recall, it's like, okay, well, what are they going to do whenever, you tell them to come and they decide they're not coming?
Yeah.
Like, you have to have that control to be able to actually make sure they get back to you. Otherwise, you're putting your dog in danger and potentially other dogs in danger.
I think it comes down to a level of having respect for everybody else. You know what I mean? Not all dogs like other dogs.
Yeah.
Not all people like other dogs. So if you're out at the beach, like, that's where you see it a lot. Like, people have their dogs off leash, which I'm cool, which I've done myself. You know what I'm saying? But if your dog's just running up to everybody, sniffing their beach towel, getting up in their face, and you have no control, you can't recall them off of that, you're being disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
So, like, just assuming everybody's going to be cool with your dog, or, like, especially me coming from training Vader, a dog reactive dog, like, I don't appreciate off-leash dogs that can just run up and get in my space. You're now degrading what I'm doing with my dog. I dealt with this in my neighborhood where I had a neighbor that had 3 dogs, would just let them roam the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And like, I have to walk by this house to get to my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter which way I go, I got to walk by this house. And so, like, these dogs would come run out, and it's like, they're not that, like, it's not that big of a deal, but it's like, I'm trying to work Vader through some things. And so, like, I had conversations with this guy. That's my first step. I'm a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I'm trying to accomplish this certain thing. Please don't let your dogs run up to me off leash. This is what I got going on. FYI, my dog will kill your dogs. You know what I'm saying? And, like, he just blew me off. Cool, copy that. So, like, now I got to handle things myself, and make sure those dogs aren't going to come up and get into my space. So, like, there's a level of respect that you got to have for people. Like, just don't let your dogs roam up off leash, get in people's grills, get in their face, get in their space. You need to have control of your dog. If you don't have control of your dog, put a leash on or get some training.
I think I was at your house one time when these 3 dogs, they just came to your house.
Yeah.
They just walked down the street to your house.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere.
Antagonizing you.
Yeah. And there was, out of the 3, there's definitely the one that was dominant. He was the pack leader. He was the leader of those 3. So I knew that's the one you got it. That's who I got to focus on. Just, to handle business.
Handle the rooster.
Handle business, and then they didn't bother us anymore. So.
Yeah. Well, what about, like, if you have a dog that's, like, doesn't like if you bring a dog out to a public place that might react at other dogs, like, you and your dog, you're cool, but if another dog walks up to your dog doesn't like that, so it might correct him. What about that person bringing their dog out to an off-leash area like a beach? They're trying to enjoy the beach with their dog. It's like just a common dog area. There's dogs everywhere. They know this dog doesn't like other dogs walking up to him, but they're in this area where there's a lot of dog populace. Should that person have their dog out there?
Well, it's like, you got to be smart with it too. So it's like, yes, I said, I don't appreciate off-leash dogs coming up to my dogs, but like you said, I do know that both of my dogs do have reactivity issues. And if someone's up, like another dog's up in their grill, that's obviously going to create a reaction. So I personally, like, I'll go to the beach during the on-leash hours. So I am expecting that everyone's dogs are going to be on-leash during those hours. And that's where it becomes frustrating to have off-leash dogs coming up. Now, if it's off-leash hours, now that is kind of a gray line where I can understand, well, technically, your dog is allowed to be off leash. Do I still think that they need to have control? Yes. But I'm not going to put my dog in the situation because I know that not everyone actually does that. So I just don't go whenever it's off-leash hours.
Bottom line, you're responsible for your dog.
Yeah, it's definitely a people thing. Because even on-leash, people don't have control of dogs.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, how many times we've been at the farmer's market and we've had dogs at downstays and we've had to physically go up, remove the other dog from messing with our dog because people are just on the...
We did a group class one time. We had all of our dogs at downstays. We're going to double tap this on the flat collar thing, right? So a dog comes up, slips the flat collar, come getting in our dog's face. We have to physically grab this dog by the scruff, take it back to the owner, put their flat collar back on, and send them on their way.
When I take my dog out to a location, I'm focused on him.
Yeah.
I'm worried about what he's doing 24/7.
Yeah.
I'm also worried about what's going on in the environment. Again, I'm a little paranoid. I like to keep a buffer around my dogs.
Yeah.
Another thing I hate is when people just walk up to my dog and just start trying to interact with it.
Yeah.
That's
Piss
like
me
the
off in a
worst.
second. He's wearing the big do not pet vest, like he's got all his equipment on.
That doesn't apply to me. I'm just going to still pet him.
I'm good with Great
I know
Danes.
it says don't pet, but
Yeah.
I have.
Well, after like
raised
2 minutes, they're like,
Rottweilers.
"Oh, I see
Yeah.
the vest
Okay,
now."
okay.
I'm like, "Yeah."
Go ahead.
I do use, I think I use some balance too. I think a little bit like what Lexi said. So like I mean, I know the things that I've worked through with Vader. Yes, he can tolerate dogs. I can take him out in the public and pass by dogs. Am I probably not going to go to a place where I know there's going to be tons of off-leash? Because the reality is people are going to go there. They're going to have their dogs. They're not going to have control of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I probably won't go. Like Lexi said, I'm not going to go during the prime off-leash time with my reactive dog that can be uncomfortable, just because like I want to minimize any risk of anything happening to another dog, any degradation in my training, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to kind of use common sense in that as that goes.
Controlling the environment.
Minimize risk. Good term. What about people that are like at their house, they're roughhousing with their dog? They're like wrestling with them.
God.
You know, Megan, what do you think, Megan? Oh, here we go.
The person is wrestling with
The
their
person's
dog?
wrestling with the dog. They're roughhousing with their dog.
Well, I know like a lot of times, like, you know, I'll have couples that I'm working with and they'll have like a dominant dog and the wife will be like, my husband just like wrestles with this dog all the time. I'm like, oh God. So I'm like, your husband's going to have to join the training sessions because this is going to be a major issue when the dog gets older, once it starts establishing its personality and stuff. So, you know, it's just not something that's really beneficial to you or the dog in any shape or form. So.
I think in general, we tell people just don't do it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like, don't blur the lines. Now, can it be done and not have any issues?
Yeah.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it can be done, but understand, like, if I'm roughhousing with my dog, he's biting my arms like in a nipping, friendly way. That doesn't mean he can tell the difference between that and my 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, you've got to draw the line somewhere and say, well, what do you want? What are you dealing with your dog? You got to know your dog. I can roughhouse with Vader and it's fine, and I don't have any issues. Right now, I'm going to use common sense as well. I'm not going to blur those lines where I'm like getting on the ground and acting like a dog. There's a difference. I'm a human, you're a dog, and it is what it is. Like, we have to be able to set those boundaries and hold those boundaries. So like, I don't know, I guess it just depends on what you're doing as far as roughhouse goes. You know what I mean?
I mean, back in the day before I became, you know, what I am now, it used to be Thursday night SmackDown in my house. We'd be rolling all over the ground, whatever. I'd be finished. She'd just come and stand over me, and I'm not thinking anything about it at the time, you know. But it's she's very dominant, and you know, in that sense. To me, it's just like best not to do unless, you know, obviously Chris has control. You know, he's got that expectation, those boundaries. But as far as just everyday house, like, there's other things you can do. You can use intermediate objects that don't involve, you know, your body. Keep in mind, when you're doing this, you are communicating to the dog in a way that they understand, because this is what they do. They play fight. You know, your dog's going to be dominating you, and you don't even realize it. Well, now that dog may feel empowered and just assume the leadership role. Now they may start correcting you. You know, you may start resource guarding. You may start having these issues come up. Oh, they came out of nowhere. And it's like, no, it's because you're, you know, doing the people's elbow on your dog every Wednesday night, you know, so it's an issue.
Yeah. I mean, if I have a client that's like having all of these issues in training, in certain training areas, they won't hold spot. Oh, they won't do this. Or, they're growling now at people or whatever. But they're also doing the roughhousing thing. Like, that's going to be the first thing. Like, increase your structure. If you don't understand pack dynamics and how everything works, that's a no-go for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what you're actually subtly communicating with your dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, me, I roughhouse with Vader. I understand how everything comes together as a puzzle piece. So like, if he's taking advantage of me, I'm going to, number one, put it in check. I'm going to correct any undesirable behaviors, reinforce good behaviors, and then probably lay off on some roughhousing. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to understand how all the pieces come together.
Then it gets too crazy. I can't roughhouse him. He's a
big boy.
He's got a hell of a reach too.
Yeah.
He'd be sitting there.
Yeah, he'll punch you in the face. He'll knock you out.
To me, roughhousing, off limits, not good to go. No. I keep a very clear line. I believe everyone should keep a very clear line. You play with your dog with toys, with balls, with tugs, with whatever, you know, but keep the line very clear. Physical contact is, you know, for affection. And then, of course, like if you lay with your dog, you know, or like you're on the couch with your dog, that's different. That's not roughhousing. You know what I'm saying? But I keep that line very clear. I think everybody should, but it's everyone's decision. But that's my recommendation. But what about people treating their dogs like children?
Oh, God. You have like an animal in your home. It doesn't matter how big or small.
You see like this little medium-sized pitty going around the park in a stroller with like clothes on. You know, it's like just have a kid.
It looks miserable.
People dressing up their dogs, holy don't do that.
Or birthday parties. That always happens. Having a birthday party where your family comes over, the dog wears a party hat, they've baked the dog a cake. Oh my gosh.
The dog has no idea.
Yeah, I'm like, your dog has no idea what's going on. Like, that's more for you than, you know, for anything else.
Which at the end of the day, you know, if it's fine, you've always done it, there's no issue, whatever. Yeah. But you have to also understand that you're dealing with an animal.
Yeah.
You know, if we were to disappear off the face of the earth, your little dog is either going to go hunt, kill, and survive, or fall victim to prey or natural selection.
I forgot who we were talking to earlier, or maybe yesterday, but we were talking about it's always the dogs that have the aggression or the reaction.
Yes.
Or the
Yeah,
issue.
for some reason it's
Oh
weird.
my gosh.
It's the people that treat their
I was like, I
dogs
just
like
said that,
children,
yeah.
or the dogs develop those behaviors on a
Yeah.
higher level because they're treated like children.
Yeah.
I wake up every morning. The first thing I do is I go hug him. He growls at me for some reason.
we read that book. I think it was a Bruce Vogel book.
Games people play, or
Or
games
pets.
pets play.
Yeah,
yeah.
remember?
That's
So like
what
there was this one story of the people that they allowed their dog to have their own bedroom.
Oh, yeah,
like,
they
hey, this is
lived in
their,
the guest bedroom.
this was the
No.
owner's bedroom.
You
They
haven't read
slept
that
in this
book?
bed.
Wait.
Small dog too.
Wait, it's a book?
It's called Games Pets Play.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Bruce Vogel. Very good book.
So like the master bedroom where the owners stayed, the dog basically just dominated the bed.
Dominated.
This is my bed. They said, "Cool, copy that." They back out. They stay in the guest bedroom,
Yeah.
right? It's something like that.
Treated
but
it
it's
like a kid all
they're
the
treating
time.
it like a human being. Like, okay, well, I guess the dog wants the bed, so here you go. So like, imagine how that could go wrong in so many other areas
Oh,
of
yeah.
your life. You know what I'm saying? Where they're just dog can get whatever they want. You know what I mean? You shouldn't even do that with your kids.
Well,
your human kids. You know what I'm
Nowadays,
saying?
kids run all over the place.
Don't let your spouse get away with it either.
That's a different. I'm not. No comment on that one.
Significant. I'm just kidding.
Chris is sleeping in the bathtub tonight, boys.
I mean, but I would say though, like if it's like, okay, so say it's like your dog's first birthday. You get it a birthday cake.
Here.
It's not a birthday
no,
thing.
no, okay. This is just an example. But like say that makes you as a person, it makes you happy to give them a birthday cake. Yes, understand the dog has no idea what's going on. But if your dog isn't having any issues because of that, like the dog's just going to see it as a treat. So like ultimately, like that's not something that's going to be the end of the world if your dog's not having issues. Now, if your dog is having issues because you're treating it like that, now, okay, then there's an issue. But like something as simple as, oh, my dog turned 1, I want to give them, a birthday treat. Right. Like, that's okay as long as you're not, you understand the fact that your dog isn't a human.
Right, you have to have that perspective.
Yeah.
I would say that yes, but make your dog work for it.
Yeah.
Because the person that's doing that
Yeah.
is typically the kind of person that's babying their dog all
Right.
the time,
Yeah.
not making them earn anything.
Yeah.
Think about pack dynamic, pack mentality, which we did a podcast on. But in the pack, if you're going to eat, you're hunting.
Yeah.
You're migrating, you're working, then you get the feast. You're going back to your primal instinct. You get a blood boiling workout, then you get to feast. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to give your dog a cake on its birthday, cool, that's for you, but make your dog work for it. And all you got to do is walk 20, 30 minutes. That's it. It's freaking simple. Like whenever I tell people like make your dog work for it, they think they got to do this elaborate shit. It's like, no, you don't.
Run the obstacle course.
It's like extremely simple, make your dog go to the spot and then tell it to come to you.
Yeah.
Like that's working.
Yeah.
Take your dog on a 30. I prefer the walking because it's like a migration, hunting, stalking type mentality. You know what I'm saying? So that's a great way to do it, if you've got the control on the walk. Like for me, I got a 1 mile trail around the property, so I'm walking my trail. My dogs are not in heel position the whole time. I let them go roam. I randomly call them to me. I randomly call them into heel position. Then I release them again. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good birthday present right there.
Good
You don't need a cake.
Exactly.
Just let them do that.
Exactly.
They probably enjoy that more.
They
Yeah.
do enjoy it more. The cake is just for the human.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
like if I'm in a neighborhood, I might be having them heel the entire walk. You know what I'm saying? So like 2 different ways you can do it. If you're on the beach, you can do the release, call to you, heel position, release again, which we did a video on YouTube about me doing that with Zdeno. You know what I'm saying? So good ways to make your dog work. It can be super simple. Go to spot, come to me. Right? Down, stay for 5 minutes, come to me. Heel with me for 15 minutes. It's not difficult to make your dog work. You know what I'm saying? But before you give them something special, make them work. Don't baby them all the time. When you're babying them all the time, you're treating them like a human child or like a human. That's when you're going down a slippery slope of getting some bad behaviors popping up. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you got to change your relationship at that point. That's going to be difficult for you and your dog. So, but yeah. All right, guys, we covered a lot of different stuff today. Any closing comments, thoughts, anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of our team.
Oh, thanks.
We help each other out
Yeah.
all the time. Any other subjects? anything anyone wants to talk about, anything. Lexi is on the ground beef.
You
She's
know,
on the ground beef.
finally, about time.
Did you not eat meat?
No, I do. He just like I basically what happened was I went to Walmart. I saw
meat from Walmart.
Okay,
She's got to start somewhere. Don't discourage her. We're trying to get protein. in
No,
her.
so I saw this like gigantic package of ground beef. So I sent Chad a picture of it, telling him he needed it, even though I knew he was going to say it's not quality, blah blah blah. But I sent it to him, and then he like freaked out because I was buying beef. But yes, I do buy meat from Walmart. But I'm
For now.
Honestly, on my way back home yesterday from my appointments, I went to Walmart to get my grass-fed beef because they do have grass-fed beef there. And they did not have the grass-fed beef. Instead, they had replaced that section with Beyond Burger. And I was beyond upset.
What is it?
Plant-based.
That's like a fake burger.
It's a fake burger.
It's
Have you
not-
not listened to the podcast?
It has really bad ingredients.
The Sacred
in it,
Cow
actually.
podcast?
Yeah, it's actually worse for you.
It's
Oh
worse
my
for you.
gosh.
It's full
really
of
bad.
industrial seed oils.
Worse
which
for
we
you,
know-
worse for the environment.
Exactly. Exactly, which we know are bullshit. So anyway,
Right, marketing.
so what I do, I'm
Sodium
like, there's
levels.
no good options here. I went across the street to Publix. They got my good beef there. They got the White Oak Pasture grass-fed beef, 90-10. Then I got a couple pounds of 93.7 grass-fed beef, so had to adjust. Got some orange juice too.
Orange
But,
is good.
Yeah, stick with orange juice, boys.
Yeah. Anyway, you got to take care of your body. Don't let the trainer workout be your only workout of the week. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're fueling your body. Megan, did you get your workout in today?
Yeah, at 5 a.m.
It was
Nice.
Yes, it was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
good. Chris, Lexi, y'all get your workouts
Yeah.
in this
Yep.
one? Kevin?
Actually,
No,
Chris,
there we go.
Chris, are you sure?
I got
There has been so many spiders and spider webs up in the treehouse recently.
Those are
They're-
my friends.
Dude,
So
they're
you're not working
everywhere. Since I'm off Sunday, I didn't work out in the treehouse, and I come back literally yesterday. Wait, it's day Tuesday. Yeah. So yesterday, spiders everywhere.
have
It
a
looked like
problem with
no
the
one had been
spiders.
up in there. I picked up the weight bar, and 3 spiders crawled off of it because
That
they
means
were
Chris
I
has
have not.
been
They were
working
like-
out.
I've not been using the weights. I
it was
already
just
told
crazy.
you guys this.
I was like,
rehabbing.
no one's been up here. It was crazy.
He's not been working out.
I've not been lifting.
Other types of working out, but I was
Sounds
just
like you might need some animals up in that treehouse to help you with those spiders, a.k.a. guineas.
I got
Oh.
my cat. He stays up there. He's saying, hey,
Yeah, actually, the cat was up there this morning.
Walker.
Freaked me out. I did not know he was up there. Both the dogs run up into the treehouse. They just freeze. And I was like, what the heck? And then I come around the corner. The cat's up there. And cat got a rude awakening for the morning. But
Dang.
yeah, it
to
surprised
go.
I
me.
did get my bands in, boys. So we've been working on that.
Nice.
And the summer, looking for the goal.
Kevin got a new pull-up bar
New.
at his house.
Somebody generous brought it over to me.
Donated from Canine Revolution Dog Training.
I should say new to me.
Yeah.
It's still fully operational.
Still some carport dust on there.
It's
but
still good to go, boy. Yeah, make sure you're working out. Make sure you're fueling your body. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Making good decisions with you. Making good decisions with your dog. And you're getting out there getting after it, all right? We appreciate all your support. To you, the listener, if you guys want to support the podcast, go to Amazon. Go to the link in our social medias. Go to Amazon. Get you a good-to-go shirt.
It's good to go.
Get you a Canine Revolution shirt. Canine Revolution apparel. Get you an Iron Revolution shirt. There's 2 of them. One with a Doberman and another one with a Doberman. So
That's good.
I thought we had other options now. I was getting
we're
excited.
Working on other
I
options.
was getting
We're
excited.
working on other options. We got the apparel lady on it.
You need me to.
Nah.
Okay.
We're good.
I'll get her. I'll get her busy.
Check out the YouTube if you guys want to see videos of some of the things we're talking about. We've got those on our YouTube channel, continuing to build that up for you guys. And then until next time, out.